Hello, Booktube. Welcome back to another video, and happy Memorial Day to all of those in the United States. It's Friday afternoon as I'm recording this, and we had a pretty hot start to the week. First couple days of the week were brutally hot, well into the 90s. Real feel tipping into the triple digits, and then starting yesterday and continuing on in today, just a complete reversal. Rain, chilled. It's back down in the 50s and 60s. So just a really kind of dizzying change in the weather out. But it looks like we're in for yet another kind of cold, damp Memorial Day weekend. It seems like the last few have been like this. Spring giveth and spring taketh away, but regardless of the weather, there's nothing stops book hauls, and so I've actually done several book hauls in the last couple of weeks. I just haven't gotten on here to talk about them, and so thought I would finally start to catch up on showing you all the books I got, and then so I can put these books away and maybe go buy more books. But anyway, let's jump right into it. I have here a wonderful little mass market paperback. This is Robert Massie's Peter the Great. I have the hardcover version of this book. It's a doorstopper, and like £1,000, and not really easy to read. And I saw this at one of the used bookstores a few weeks ago, and I just thought, well, given the phase outs of the mass market paperbacks and the amount of attention that has garnered here on Booktube, it has made me a little more sensitive to. Has made me a little more on the lookout for some of these old mass market paperbacks, and I thought, well, what an opportunity to maybe read a more accessible version of this book. And I don't know, the font really isn't too bad. I mean, I sometimes struggle with the font size, but this book, I've read about 100 pages of this, and it's pretty entertaining. And I might not have ever done it I might not have ever approached this book if all I had was the hardcover. And but anyway, yeah. So let's got that out of the way. Two books I've purchased just recently from a used bookstore here in town. It's a pretty small used bookstore. I don't usually get much from there. There aren't usually too many pickings to choose from. But in the front of the store, this guy has, he puts out the, some of the mass market paperback, tradeback, paperback classics. And fiction books, and so that's usually where I start, and often where I stop when I go to this bookstore. One of the things I picked up was this Jane Austen's Mansfield Park. This was the final Jane Austen that I was looking for in terms of rounding out my Jane Austen collection. At least in physical, having physical copies of them. So I now have all of the 6 major Jane Austen novels, and so this isn't really the version I was hoping to get. This is a Signet classic, but it's in pretty good shape, and I ended up paying like $2 for it. So I'm pretty content with that. And along with that, in the same place, I got this. John le Carre, The Looking Glass War, and I have picked up several books from him, of several books of his in the past few weeks, and so looking forward to reading this. This looks like a fairly, well, it's about 250 pages, so somewhat slim volume. Let's see. Look, I'm not. This is now I'm pulling books from a bag at one of the one of the bookstores I went to, and so I'm not sure which. I got two bags at the store, and so this is one of them, and I'm not sure which books are in this bag, and so I might be as surprised as you are as I pull these out. Here's a book I've been looking for. This is Main Street by Sinclair Lewis. I have a couple of other books by Sinclair Lewis. One of his more famous works was Babbitt, which I think was a couple years after this book. But I had been kind of looking for a version of Main Street. This is a Barnes and Noble edition. It's really clean, nicely bound. It's in good shape. So I was happy to get that. Let's see what this one is. Okay. This is Maggie-Now by Betty Smith, author of A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, and that's why I got this book. I finished reading A Tree Grows in Brooklyn about 2 weeks ago, maybe, and really loved that book as well, and am looking forward to doing a video on it shortly before It Too again, before I start to forget about it. It was a great book. I really liked it. A Tree Grows in Brooklyn is a book that I have attempted to read a couple of times, and I've liked it when I've started to read it, but I just have. It's just one of those books that I have started to read multiple times, but have never finished. And finally, I did commit myself to reading it, and I really liked it, and it made me curious and interested in the remaining works of Betty Smith. A Tree Grows in Brooklyn is set in the early 1900s and follows the life of a girl named Francie Nolan. We meet her when she's like 6 or 7, and it's sort of a coming-of-age story of her. This book, Maggie-Now, I am not familiar with. But I decided to pick this up, and we'll give that a try, because I was interested in the author again, based on A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. So what do I have here? Okay. This is Thomas Hardy, The Woodlanders. Again, not really the version of the book that I was looking for. I listened to the audio of this book, I think late in the fall, really liked it, and decided I wanted to have a physical copy of the book. This is the Penguin's classic version, and as I just got done singing the praises of the Oxford World Classics in a previous video, if I should find another version of this book, I may get that as well. But of the different versions of the Woodlanders that I've seen, this was one of the nicer ones. It's in really good shape. The pages are starting, the edges of the pages are starting to yellow a little bit, but looks like a good reading copy. So I can have that for my shelves as I round out some of my Thomas Hardy collection. Here we go. This is Agnes Grey by Anne Bronte. This is the Barnes and Noble edition. As I mentioned in a previous video, I read 3 of the books by the Bronte sisters in the fall. I read The Tenant of Wildfeld Hall by Anne Bronte and really liked that. And then, of course, I read Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte and Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. But there were 3 remaining Bronte books, I believe. One by Anne Bronte, that being Agnes Grey, and I think 2 other books by Charlotte Bronte. So I was kind of on the lookout for this in a physical copy. So happy to get that. Another Thomas Hardy book. This is The Mayor of Casterbridge, and yeah, I've gotten to know Thomas Hardy's works a little bit through a couple different Booktube channels, Jen the Librarian, and Katie over at Books and Things. And so I've have heard this book mentioned a couple of times, and so this is the which version of this? This is the Modern Library. Yeah, it's kind of got that. It's kind of got that gold binding there. I have a couple books of this from that are from this publisher. So happy to add to my Thomas Hardy collection. And now I think we're turning to a couple different nonfiction books, if I'm not mistaken. Here we have American Reformers by Ronald Walters, 1815 to 1860. Have known of this book for a while. Hadn't thought about it in quite a few years, but interested in the Ante-Bellum period and the different reform movements that started up in the 19th century. And so, yeah, looking forward to having this book in my collection. Another another nonfiction book here. This is Barbara Tuchman. This is the Zimmerman Telegram. This was a telegram that was decoded, and it was, I believe, it was a message from Germany to the president of Mexico. Reading from the back here, inviting Mexico to join Germany and Japan in an invasion of the United States. I think it contributed to some degree, at least in America's entering into the war, or certainly inflamed opinion in the United States when it became when this news came out. And yeah, and I have several other books by Barbara Tuchman, and this is not a long book, about 200 pages. So again, saw this in the used bookstore, pretty cheap price. So decided that was worth having. And here's another nonfiction old classic, Alexis de Tocqueville, The Old Regime and the French Revolution. Now I think I saw this being talked about somewheres on a Booktube channel, and I don't know if I was aware that de Tocqueville had written a book about the French Revolution, or if I had known that, I'd forgotten it. And I was kind of thinking of getting this, a few times when I was in Barnes and Noble. So, finding this for a cheap price, and it's in really good condition. There is some yellow highlighting, but not excessively. So that's fine. So glad to have that. Here's another book that I've heard a lot about and have just never gotten around, never felt properly motivated to buy. But this is The Greek Way by Edith Hamilton. And I'll be honest, I don't know much about this book, but I think it just has to do with, antiquity and the Greek worldview, the Greek mindset, different characters and the thinking of the Greek world. I have heard about this book a lot, and looks like it was, guess it looks like maybe the original publication might have been from the 1930s. The first Norton paperback was 1964. This is a Norton paperback that I think was published in 1993, or at least that's when the Norton paperback was reissued. So, The Greek Way by Edith Hamilton. And finally, we have a doorstopper. And don't think I had heard of this book before. I was aware, or am aware, of the name of at least the name of the author is familiar to me. But the title of the book itself was not. This is Page Smith's The Nation Comes of Age, A People's History of the Ante-Bellum Years, Volume 4. So apparently this is part of a book series. This is published by Penguin. Let's see if there's any information on the other volumes in this series. It doesn't look like doesn't look like those are listed here, but it says this is volume 4, so I can only imagine there was at least the volumes 1 through 3. Again, this is Page Smith, The Nation Comes of Age, A People's History of the Ante-Bellum Years. It's only about 1,150 pages of text. So, I don't know if I don't know if this is the kind of book I'm going to be able to read the whole thing, but it looks just it looked fascinating to me, and couldn't pass this by. So, all right, so that's it. That's for this edition of the book haul. This was the one bookstore I went to. Ended up getting, I think, 14 books for about $60. So I thought that was really, really well worth my time. And there's some of the other books are in another bag or somewhere else in the house. So I am not going to talk about yet, but I will probably get around to them again. But that's it for today. So thanks again for watching Booktube, and I will see you again soon. Thanks. Bye.